Hello and welcome to Learning It Today. This is our new podcast where we all get together, share ideas and thoughts and experiences that we have been through, and hopefully shed some light to encourage you and help you on your journey in your career path. Before we begin, I want to introduce everyone in the team here. Kawa has 6 months experience in student coordination. Craig, 30 years experience in IT, and Letu, 10 years digital marketing rockstar. Myself and Letu, we're in the same field, digital marketing. We just want to get straight into today's topic, and that is our experiences with our good interviews and with our bad interviews. I think you'll learn quite a bit from us today. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to dive into the first topic and open it up to the floor, which is how and what makes a good CV. Let's start with that. Guys, over to you.
Okay, I'll start. For me personally, I always feel like a good CV shows what you've done, all right? Your experience and the results that you've produced. So with my CV, what I always start with is, apart from just mentioning the stuff that I did, the job description and what I did, but it's the achievements as well. So what did I achieve personally from that job? So that's my selling point. That's the first thing that I make sure is pretty evident. And number two, I bold those so that immediately when someone sees my CV, they can see the benefit, right? Immediately. Because another thing with CVs is the thing I think of especially is that people like how are going through 400 CVs, 200 CVs. They don't have time to look for those things that they need. So you have to help them. You have to guide them. So to say that this is what I have. So they can quickly pick out, yes, you're the right person, or no, you're not the right fit. So immediately I just speak of the results that I have, the stuff that I've achieved in the past. So not necessarily so for example, with digital marketing, I wouldn't say I did social media, right? Everyone is going to say that I did social media, I did Instagram, but I say I've increased the social media platform by such and such and such, and the results should then speak. Okay, he can do it. Share the results, and maybe even name the company, the handle, the social media platform that's related to that job. So for me, I think it's the first page. Deal with the skills and what you will provide, because that's your selling point. The skill, what are you going to be doing in the job once you are hired?
No, I definitely agree. Having that value at the beginning, I think it does help a lot. I open it to the floor again. What would you say is crucial? Having a lot of information in your CV or having it down to one page? Let's say you have over 5 to 10 years experience. You've worked with all of these type of jobs, you have all of this experience. It's either everyone tries to cram everything in one page or they have 5 different pages. How would you suggest to people, if they have all of the experience, how would they put it into their CV?
I'll take that one. I've had to put a lot into my one. So I would say you need to have the pertinent information there. What I mean by pertinent information is if you've done the same job twice. I mean, if you've done project management in one job and you've done project management in another job, just stipulate project management in the one, and then stipulate what you've done in the most recent job that you've had. Don't go and give details in every single one, because that extends your CV and it just makes it cumbersome. I mean, if you said you've done project management, you don't have to say I've done project management again and project management again. You want to have it that once you've stipulated what you have done, you don't have to repeat it all the way through. If it's a different job or a different scope, then have those details. That already starts shrinking down your CV, and it keeps it a bit more readable, if I can put it that way. If you're trying to put all that detail and it's scattered all over the place, remember, if you're looking at 200 different CVs, you're going to skip it. You've got to have something that's going to catch that person's eye. It's like marketing. If you think about it, you want somebody to look at your CV out of the 100 CVs that's been submitted. So it's got to be catchy, but it's also got to be relevant. I know it's kind of like up in the air type of thing, but
And
it is catchy. You've got to find that catch piece. If you're doing marketing, I'll give you an example. If I was looking for a marketer from my perspective, it's that marketer needs to market themselves with that CV. So there's got to be something catchy, relevant information, but also something catchy from a marketing aspect. Dull job like an accountant or something, you can't really put much there, but it's still, you have that relevant information that you can put in. Don't story tell, just bullet point, give the highlights.
So coming after you. The
is
accountants
that
are coming after you on this podcast.
is that Sakia on the line? I think we need to introduce Sakia to the podcast. Sakia has over 20 years experience in the IT education. Sakia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, team. Sorry, I am a little bit late for our podcast. Excited to be here.
Before we move on to our next point within the CV, and then we're just going to finish that off, let you mention something about.
Another thing is always look at it from the perspective of the person who's going to be looking at your CV, right? There's certain things I feel, for example, I realized if you already have a degree, there's no point adding your high school information. That it should sort of make logic that it should be logical that if you've got a degree, you don't need to put your high school. It's clear you've passed high school. You can drop that and leave that. And so those type of things, just thinking of it logically as a person who's on the other end, what type of information are they looking for? You know, I think you also have to think of it as you're creating the CV, put yourself in the position of someone who's looking for, or if it's a digital marketing guy, put yourself in the position of someone who's looking for someone like that. And what would they like to initially see in the CV? And consider obviously the fact that they're looking at hundreds of other CVs at the same time. And what is it for you that's going to stand out immediately and say, okay, these are the things that they should need to see quickly before they move on to the next scene. So yeah, logic as well, I think.
I think this last question is directed directly at you. I want your experience. If there is someone who is new to the job world and wants to put themselves out there, hasn't had any prior experience, how does a person go ahead and take that first step to applying for a job? How did you do it?
Well, what I did was I went job hunting. Right? I had very minimal experience in the working environment. I worked for my aunt at the time. So as far as experience goes and so forth, I didn't have much. You basically have to base it on what you know and how well you sell yourself. With regards to your CV, if you have done something on the side, for example, if you've worked with your uncle in mechanics or electrician, you can put on your CV you have like you have very minimal experience in electrician, but there's something you can do with that experience. It's not like you went and did electrical work, but you didn't learn anything from it. So you can get somewhere with that experience that you have gained from working with your uncle. The same thing with me, I worked with my aunt. That was the only experience I had. So I put that experience on and I want to apply for, say, for example, a sales position, right? And I said that I'm good in coordinating and dealing with customers that needed the products delivered to them. I was able to speak and negotiate and create and build good negotiating skills, right? So I had that on my CV and, you know, because you don't have so much experience, right? Everybody's going to look through your CV and they say, no, not a fit, not a match, not a match. You don't have this much experience. We're looking for someone that's more advanced, things like that. But one thing my uncle told me was, if you do go for interviews, right, there's a 10 to 2 strategy that you use. So 10 out of 10 of the jobs that you apply for, 2 of them will come back to you with an interview. You might not get it, but then you just try again and you go on with the next 10 and you get feedback. and like that. And you need to be positive in the interview if you get it, and you need to sell yourself and say you don't have the experience, but you're willing to learn in the position, and you're willing to train new skills and learn new things.
I love that. Thank you, everyone, for contributing towards our CV topic. To those viewers out there who want to start the job market or new to the job market and you need help along the way, definitely check out our description below. Leave a comment because I'm sure we're going to fire up those comments when we talk about our experience in interviews and specifically the bad ones. I know that we'll get to the story where everyone here on the panel is laughing because we'll get to my one in the just now, but I want to open it up to everyone. What has been your worst interview experience you have had? Opening up to the floor.
Oh, that's easy. That is so easy. My very, very first interview ever. I was 17, young, all of that. Had this interview that came up and they said, no, I need to be at this place. So obviously, in those days, you had to figure out your transport, get to the interview, all of that. Obviously, dressing neat and everything for it. I walked in, went to the reception, met the lady and that, and we started going into this boardroom. And I walked into this boardroom and there was about 20 seats in this boardroom. It was ginormous. I wasn't expecting anything of all of those seats being filled, but that's what eventually happened. I had 20 people interviewing me in one go, and this is my first interview ever. It was total panic. Internally, it was total panic. But I think I actually handled myself not too bad. The feedback I got afterwards from the agency and that I was dealing with actually said that I actually handled it well. I was just too young for the job. So in one sense, I suppose it wasn't really my fault, but it was a very, very good experience. I don't think I've ever experienced that much pressure in one go, being so young. But I think it taught me a lot going forward, especially in times of being unprepared or prepared for a situation that you were totally unprepared for. It helps you adapt. It was a good thing to experience at the end of the day.
No, I do believe that, as you mentioned there, where those experiences teach you for the next, and they definitely do. You remember those experiences.
You'll never forget.
You'll never forget it. What experiences Craig has just shared with us, Letu, Zakia, Hawa, have you experienced anything that has either made you run or hide?
So for me, if I saw 20 seats, whether they're going to be filled or not, I would have freaked out. And I would have freaked 20, no ways. I can't handle. That's a crowd. That's a concert. I cannot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'm performing now. It's no longer an interview in a panel. You can't call that a panel of people interviewing. Honestly, no. It's a concert. I would have passed out.
You didn't even know where to look. You didn't even know. It's like nah.
And all the problem is it's question. Look, no.
Not all of them. I think the majority. Remember, you've got the HR people that's sitting in there. HR people never say anything except for the usual questions, the Howard questions.
The Howard never ask anything.
I mean, it's like, you can't place any of these people. They're all walking in suits and all of that. It's not like you can say, okay, that one's an engineer, this one's this. They all look like managers, so they all look like people of authority. So you're like, I still today don't even know who half those people would have been or what their roles were even in there. They could have been the most junior of junior managers for all I knew. But to me, they all seemed like executives of note.
Well, you were 17, so they were definitely executive to you.
Exactly.
Regardless. Yeah. So the experience I had, it wasn't so much of an interview blooper. It was at a law firm here in Sandton, quite a prestigious building from reception all the way up to the top floor. And during the interview, one of the I'm going to say lawyers, because I don't know, lawyers, attorneys, whatever, came through looking for support from the person that would have been my training manager had I taken the role. And there was no respect in this request. The way it was asked, the way it was demanded, and it happened like this lawyer walked right in as we were doing the interview. She said, I need this, and I need this right now. It had to do around, I think it was protecting a document so it could not be edited. And I think back then, like Microsoft Word was about, one of those tools. And the lady interviewing me, who would have been my boss, said, I'm just a bit busy. And when I'm done, I'll get back to you. And she said, well, there's a client that pays 10,000 an hour for our time.
What?
And I'm sure that yes. And this is in the middle of my interview. And I looked at that and I thought, I don't think I'm going to take this job. I'm not going to be treated like this. I'm sorry. No. Yeah, that was a bit of a shocking experience for me. It was a really good offer, but I stayed with the current job that I had, even though I was so bored and fed up and frustrated. There was respect. And that for me was a big deal breaker. I didn't take that job.
Yeah. These interviews can be very, very scary. I'm not a very good storyteller. This is what happened. I got this job interview. It was a really good position. First time leveling up in your career path. So the pressure was on. Before I left, I should have had this indication where my parents looked at me and they said, are you sure you dressed for the interview? So I calmly said, yeah, I mean, come on. I had a casual black shirt and black pants and some formal shoes. I thought in my head that I was A4 ready to go. Anyway, I get to this place. It's in quite a nice house. I'm sitting right outside the door when the other candidate is being interviewed. And I can hear everyone laughing, having a good time. I hear them saying, wow, if this is not the person for the job, then I don't know who is. And now I'm thinking about how am I going to make them laugh as loud as that? What am I going to say? And then it just kept on snowballing from there, where the guy who came out tall, he wore everything that you can picture for an interview, like suits, tie, haircut was neat. Here I am with my long hair, all curly, So a little bit of self-doubt as well. And then the manager proceeded to show him around as if he already got the job. Started introducing him to the team, saying, this is this guy here in front of me while I'm sitting there. So that's all running through my head. And I sit down. Lovely interviewers, nothing wrong with them. They started asking me questions and my mind went blank. I said, I apologize. My mind went blank. And then they asked me again and I just got up and I walked out. I don't know how that happened. I just ran out of there. I don't know what I did. I don't know how to describe the feeling where your whole body goes cold, freeze, your feet go cold, you have pins and needles. And that's to say I had one of the worst interviews. After that, I got a message from the recruiter saying that what happened, apparently I was underdressed, I wasn't professional, and I just ran out. So these things do happen. I do think, as we have mentioned in this conversation, that you learn from those experiences. And the one takeaway I can say about that is there's nothing wrong with being openly honest and saying, listen, I have nothing. Can we reschedule? I'm lost for it, or just mention that you're nervous. I think it's a real what is that English word, man? Deal breaker, no. Air breaker. Why am I thinking of all these other English words?
Icebreaker.
Icebreaker.
That's it. If you just be open and honest, because at the end of the day, it's a conversation. The people interviewing you also a bit nervous, even though it's their environment. And always be dressed. I think that's another thing. Dressing up is a confidence booster as well. When I saw myself with my casual t-shirt, I thought, oh my God, what am I doing here? Over to you guys.
I can understand because with our field, Ross, a lot of the times, even in the office environment, is very casual. I remember I was in this marketing agency. I was interning there just for a short while. Everyone was in flip-flops, you know. If you walked in there, you wouldn't think it's a business and they're running like big companies for, there was Clover and all these big names. And you know, they can't be these guys that are running with flip-flops, morning shoes, they just all chill. And it's always been, whenever I'm in that space, it always was it's not a formal, like you'd see with financial. I always see my brother as a financial advisor and a wealth manager. He's always dressed formal, needs to have a suit, needs to be, shoes are shiny. And I'm thinking, in my field, I've never seen that. Like everyone I meet, very casual, chilled. In every interview I've been, sometimes I would be overdressed because I'm thinking I need to be prim and proper. Then I get there, people are in their work boots and what's going on here?
But that's
So
how you
relaxed.
know if someone's there for an interview, right? You see this
Yeah.
guy looking curious and he's overdressed. And you know
Exactly,
he's
he's
here for
You
an
know,
overdressed.
the next one.
So I can tell you one bad experience I had, and it's kind of related. But there was a guy that we had casual Friday, and this guy was dressed up in a suit around lunchtime. So you know, like someone's gonna have a suit on standby for that interview that they have during lunch. They're gonna quickly get dressed, run off, and then come back to work like nothing happened. I thought it was one of those scenarios, and I looked at him and I said, "You dressed for an interview?" And he said, "No, I'm dressed for a funeral. I'm going for a funeral." I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't." Yeah, bad assumption.
No, but it's a valid fact. I mean, if you think about it, you've got to look at the scope of your work that you're applying for. I mean, as Letu says, your brother, he's in the financial. You're not gonna take money from a person that's dressed in slops and shorts and all of that and think, hey, he's gonna make me money. That's not what you're thinking. A person in a suit and all of that is who's going to give you that confidence that, I don't know. Well, that's the impression you get, is a suit and tie. They're professional. They're all of that. I mean, it's the same. Any salesperson, for a majority of applying for work, is always going to be dressed with a tie and all of that for that portion. They might not wear that tie for the rest of their job career in that company,
Yeah.
but for that interview, they will be dressed like that. So it's a good thing to keep notes of what are you going for, and yeah, you've at least got to dress appropriately for it. Remember, you've got to dress to impress. If you're going in there, you've got to impress the people. Again, as I say, you are selling yourself to that company. You're selling your labor.
Yeah. For me, I think I'd rather be overdressessed than underdressed.
Yeah.
I'd rather be
Yes.
there and look like a person who's like, who's ready for the interview. They look like a person who just decided, maybe not. Let me just go in. Let's see,
Then I know you're trying to refer to me with my
Don't be the Ross.
Don't be the Ross. Yo, listen, my parents. Are you sure you dressed for an interview? What the hell, guys? Like, yeah.
I should have taken that. Should have been a sign already. Like something is wrong. Something.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I was
Guys,
early for an interview once, and I got there and I'm like, okay, everybody's casual, so maybe that's how they do things. But it was on a Friday as well. So I go there and I figure out that it's one floor, and on the floor there's different departments. So when you get in there, you get the people in the prim and proper way. Then you get the ones that are casual every day. Then you get the semi-casuals. I was confused. I was like, what's happening? But then I saw that because of the position I've applied for and the guy that interviewed me, he was more casual. So I was like, okay, then maybe that's where I'm putting.
Yeah.
Other than having to be all suited up.
Yeah.
It's worse when you see all the other candidates. For me, like if you see all the other candidates, then you start comparing yourself immediately.
For me, I've been lucky. I've never been in a situation where I see other candidates. I've never been in the situation where they're sitting there. I think that would also throw me off a bit. And I'm glad I haven't been that type of experience where I can see all the others. Usually I'm the only one that's there. I speak to the receptionist or whatever. you know, because usually what calms my nerves is I quickly speak to the other people before I go into the interview. So if it's the receptionist, I create a conversation. So it's sort of like become friends type of thing. Let's
Yeah,
talk, let's chat.
yeah,
And then by the time
yes,
I get to them, I'm sort of calm and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
now I'm cool.
That's a yes.
Yeah. So I
Making
start speaking to them around.
I love that. I love that point.
I had 2 job interviews before the final one where I was accepted for the position, right? And for both of those interviews, I was early. And when you're early and you get there before everyone, you're like, okay, maybe it's not so many people. And I thought, okay, maybe it's only 5 people. And then I ended up in a boardroom full of people. I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what's happening. And then at the one place I tried to, they said, keep your phone close because they're going to shortlist the people and they're going to call them back and say, come back for the second interview. And then I came back and it was the whole group of us. Like there was no one short. I thought this was going to slow down. But okay.
Yeah, I know.
But normally, if you're sitting in an interview and there's like lots of candidates and that, you already get a bad feeling about what work you're actually going to be doing. It's normally sales related and probably going door to door trying to sell a vacuum or something like that. So it's also good to be aware of what you're being interviewed for.
Yeah.
Or what about you rock up at a place to do, what do they call it? Psychometric tests, right? So this is, and I'm going to say it was Nedbank. It was Nedbank. So they sent all their candidates to a specific center to do the psychometric test. So they're obviously booking people in slots. So there's 8 of us at a time. So all of these people around you are there for Nedbank. And you get there and you're thinking, okay, so the other candidates, because Nedbank told me I'm one of 3. And after the psychometric test, they'll make the final decision. So the other 2 are here with me. And you boost yourself up in the car and you're saying, okay, I've got this job. I'm going to walk in there. I'm not worrying about this. You don't look at any of the candidates and you're all so cool and smooth. And you get to the reception desk and you say, I'm here for the polygraph test. You don't do polygraph test.
That's already a mess. Jeez.
I don't know why. The same thing happens with me. Like, I'm surrounded by English teachers. My dad's English teacher, mom, all my brothers, aunts. But for me, somehow the English just disappears after I'm just talking. I'm nervous. It goes quack, quack, quack. And then all of a sudden I'm mixing words. So I get you. I get you. I think it's the nervousness that takes over, just disappears.
No, that's true. I mean, that happens with me a lot of times as well. Where 1 minute my English can go so well that I impress myself. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
yo, you can speak English, eh? That's good. And then the next thing you're like, what the hell is going on with my English? What the hell is going on? Like my English teacher would be disappointed right now. So trust me, I know those moments. And the worst is when it happens when everybody's just focused on you and they're listening to you. And they just there, the pen is there, they're waiting for you to talk about yourself, and you realize, and now I'm just babbling. I don't know where you don't even remember the question. And you're just thinking, I'm just gonna go, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going.
Or those every Sunday to me because we have a gathering at my grandma. And every Sunday they'll talk about something and I'll give my input of how my week went. And then I'll say something weird and then I'll leave the joke for the night.
Yeah,
I can tell you about it. English goes, but I can also tell you about another bad interview I had. It was actually later in my career. And you have 2 technical people having this meeting. And the guy that was doing the interview, but he started off very arrogant with his pushing forward. And I didn't quite like the way he was pushing his questions. So eventually we were actually almost like in a boxing ring. We were like kind of like challenging each other from there. But by then I'd already decided I'm not going to work with this guy. So it was just push back. So I think it's just for other people in that, and as what Zach is saying, I mean, it's a two-way street. You're looking for the work. The company is also looking for the work, but it's also got to fit right for you.
Absolutely.
Don't just take something and be unhappy.
No,
There's one
definitely.
experience. Sorry, yes.
No, Karen.
There's one experience where I really got lucky. I researched digital marketing questions that they would normally ask, right? So I read this article, it had all the questions and stuff. And when I got into the interview, they'd gone through the same article. Because when they were asking questions, I'm like, wait a minute. It's going exactly as the article I
Yo.
read. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This
That
is
was
great. Deep down, I'm like, oh, I've gone through the same articles.
But that's how you know that was your door, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, perfect. I was hired then and there. Like we were so after the interview, I was hired. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Thank you, article.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what?
Nowadays, it's thank you, ChatGPT. Yeah.
ChatGPT as well.
And with that being said, I think the great part about working from remotely, because I think all of us are remote workers, is you can hear your dad in the background saying supper's up. So with that being said, thank you for everyone on this panel today. We had a lovely chat about all our experiences in the job market, our CVs, our good and our bad interviews that we've had. I hope to the listeners, the viewers, that you've learned a lot from us. Please do leave a comment in the comment section down below. We will read each and every single one of them. And if you want any advice for any future videos, leave that as well. What's the like goal, team? What is the like goal for this video? Our very first podcast, mind you. I'm going to say 7. Can we aim for 7?
13.
Let's be
30.
optimistic. Let's go for 30. I think that's fine.
Okay.
That's like
Yeah.
being very optimistic. But one thing, Ross, you've just Elon Musk's argument about work from home, you've just supported it.
Thank you.
That it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. And to the viewers, please hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.
Awesome.
Cheers,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.